Devin Dubnyk earns his 4th shutout of the season as the Wild blank the Leafs 1-0. And the Wild blank the Avs. Dubnyk and Kemper combined on the shutout. Wild 3, Avalanche 0. Mitchell waits, fires, scores!
Mitchell gets the game winner in overtime, and the Avalanche have beaten the Minnesota Wild.
We are back for another Wild Wednesday. Scott Schweitz, Sarah Sheely, the talented and wonderful Aaron, as always.
Hi,
Aaron,
Aaron.
Do you want us to use your last name? I guess I wasn't sure if you want people to know who you are. Okay. We're back in a más o menos, or CSC if we want to use Spanish. Like, I'm feeling kind of good and kind of not, because since the last we've come to you. The Wild won a couple nice tighter games against Toronto and Colorado at home, both shutouts, and then most recently we had another overtime loss as a result of the 3-on-3 and us not being able to figure out what the right mix is.
Or how to make a line change, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of unfortunate because Thursday night against Toronto, fun game to watch, but or not so fun game to watch, but is coming out with a good win, and then Saturday, great win, and then Monday, crappy game to watch, crappy game to lose. And so coming in here, I feel like that's how I feel. Like, that's what I'm left to feel with, is that game, not being up on the other two games. But all in all, it was a pretty good week.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, and there's players that have stepped back up. Obviously, since Pominville has started scoring, he's had a couple nice goals, and we've seen Dumba's play improve. Obviously, 2 goals, really nice shots, and
he just has that fire shot.
He has responded too since Yo kind of did, address his poor games and everything. He has picked it up, which is really positive to see, especially with the minutes that he's playing, improving, playing more of the power play, mixing that around. So
well, and that goal against the Maple Leafs was on the power play too, so that's great to see him responding there as well, especially after being taken off earlier in the season.
Yeah, and then the next game versus Colorado, another rocket, from the point, which, I mean, just as somebody who's played the game and still does play the game, I mean, I don't know anybody who wants to stand in front of that.
Exactly. I know. It's just a rocket. That's the exact right way of saying it. I think it's kind of an interesting show that we have, too, because we could talk about the Toronto game, but then you have what looked like 2 totally different teams playing against the same team. And almost the same, like we're playing at home against Colorado Saturday and then going to Colorado on Monday and looking so different in those games.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just from a high level, not only just the control of the play or the pace of the play, but just the shots 44-20.
Right.
When they're at home, and then even at 20-20 on the road. But that took a while to kind of pick back up. I mean, the game was extremely slow. They were up on shots for a while, and Colorado dictated that game, not just because of the change, but just how they played and how they paced, which really took us out of our element and out of the way that we like to play. Luckily, we were able to tie it up and take it into overtime. But they did dictate how we went through 0-4 on the power play at home in Colorado, 0-2 on the road. So our power play was a little rough against them. I know that the Twitter comments out there about Granlund and his fear of shooting the puck and having that I don't know if it's a phobia or however you want to put it, but honestly it does bring the question as he's a dish first player. But if he is not going to shoot when he has the chance to shoot, is he going to be the next person we're going to talk about moving around on the power play?
Right. Well, it's interesting because I think Pominville's now stepped it up. So we're not talking about him quite as much and his need to step it up. And so it's kind of, like I was saying, Granlund was kind of flying under the radar this whole time because he's been hiding behind that shadow of Pominville's struggles. And it's become pretty apparent to not just us but to everybody that Granlund is the one at this point that really needs to step up.
On the offense, for sure. And on that line, I know that you're starting to see the Koivu line come back down to earth a little bit. Unfortunately, we'd like to see that pick back up, but
they're in a drought for sure.
And that's something that might come. But across those lines, you are seeing goals from a variety of different people, and you are going to see more and more that the players that aren't stepping up are going to get exposed. One positive, or another positive, I should say, is the fact that when I was at the game, I thought that...
Are we talking about Thursday?
Oh, we were talking about Saturday. So I thought that Dubnyk was going to have his kid. Like, that basically was that he left the ice, and nobody kind of knew what was going on.
I know. I was like, oh, his wife went into labor. This is kind of weird that he's leaving right now, but okay.
It was in the first period. It was all over social media, in the paper. I mean, it was
Baby watch.
It was stated that it was like had its own hashtag, similar to like the Parisi Suitor watch or everything else. But so I'm like, oh, okay. So she's going into labor, so he has to bail. And then people around me are like, that's ridiculous. Like, have the kid, take a video, and whatever. And then you play the rest of the game, then go see your kid. It's not your first one. So you can just hear like the mums all of a sudden like, wait a minute, it's not the kid.
Yeah.
It's something else. And from
I suppose that's funny watching it on TV because we knew pretty much right away that, I follow Rooster on Twitter while I'm always watching the game too, so he kind of had insights right away. But being at the game, you have no idea. Nobody comes on and says
opposite end of the ice, so we didn't see him kind of come off until it was announced, and then obviously read on Twitter. Maybe it breaks. I can't be reading Twitter while I'm watching the game.
Absolutely.
There's some that do, which is really awkward to watch at a live sporting event. But,
right.
But then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it was something more serious, where he's wincing. He's kind of like showing what's going on and what play led to it, how he had to kind of go, right to left and across the crease and whatever. And so that's concerning. But what's not concerning is that Kemper comes in and plays well.
He's been playing really well. What's interesting about the whole thing is on Saturday morning, Dubnyk said, and it's funny because being such a mind guy, he said how great it is having a third goalie and how he just feels so at ease because he has Backstrom. So if anything was ever to happen, there would be three of them. And then sure enough, Saturday night, he injures himself. So I think it's pretty interesting that the one day he decides to say that. But yes, Kemper has come in, played phenomenally. He played really well Saturday night for the rest of the game, got his first win, got his first home win since January, so that's really nice to see. And then played really well on Monday night. It was unfortunate the ending of the game. The 3-on-3 issue really wasn't his fault. The first goal that he gave up, he didn't stand a chance on. So I don't really blame him for either. I think he's been playing great.
No, and I'd say if he wasn't playing so well, the game would have unraveled quickly.
Right.
The Wild were doing nothing really to help him out. He had one goal where he did, like a windmill and caught the puck with his glove. Was like spinning around. It was. There's a couple shots that definitely he got over with a pad. It just one after another that really showed his confidence. And then obviously, you dust off Backstrom from the press box and bring him down.
It was interesting that they didn't bring him down Saturday night. That he didn't dress and come down. I thought that once Doobie was out, he would dress and come down, but he didn't until. Obviously, he traveled to Colorado on Monday and was the backup. But.
Sure. No, that's one thing that, who knows what could happen in an emergency situation. And I don't know if it's different rules, if it's, something like you leave voluntarily for
right.
health thing or the birth of the child or anything like that versus an injury. Like a normal player, if you have an injury, you can't bring in another player down from the press box.
Right.
So I don't know exactly, what the parameters are and what you can and can't do with that.
So, question for you here then. So let's say, because they're saying mild groin strain for Doobie. They're saying he should be back this weekend. Although I haven't heard anything about his baby since he got hurt. Have you?
He did have his baby.
He did have his baby.
The baby
okay.
Baby came today, this morning. I believe Parker Dubnyk is the name.
Baby boy? Yeah. Because I think Russo kept joking, trying to get him to name him Roos or something like that. Okay, so he had his baby, so baby watch is over. So they were saying he should be back by this weekend. Let's say he's not back. Do we see Backstrom in the back-to-back Friday and Saturday?
I don't. On the road,
two tough games.
If anything,
in Arizona, then in San Jose. You think that Kemper starts both of those if he has to?
Probably. It depends on the severity of what they think Dubnyk is. Now, obviously.
They're saying he should be back.
We joked about it in previous shows about the groin strains and that I pulled mine playing adult league hockey, and I could tell you that for me it was debilitating. But as we talked about before the show, they have a team of people that are taking care of him.
Right.
I mean, they're doing every type of treatment and other things that they can do, short of probably bringing in some sort of witch doctor with, oils and incense and things.
Well, when your $6 million man goes down, your heart stops. I mean, Saturday night once we did realize what was happening, I mean, it was panic and it was funny because Yo doesn't really say a lot about injuries right after a game. It's usually just, I'll get to you when I get to you as soon as I have information. And he pretty much right away was, I don't expect this to be a serious thing.
That's methodical, though. I mean, you do that. You don't alert or cause a panic. I mean,
right, but even with Parisi, he never really says much about it. It's just kind of, I'll update you tomorrow. And he right away came out and said, I don't think this is going to be serious. Don't expect this to be serious, and kind of put everybody at ease.
And I think the reason for that is that everybody jumped to conclusions that it was some sort of a knee injury.
I was panicking.
And you're going to have another MCL or something else where you're going to have how many games, weeks, etc.
Well, he did grab his knee. He grabbed his leg as he was going off, and then when he was talking to the trainer and the medical staff, he was grabbing his leg. So that's what it looked like to me, was that it was his knee.
Okay.
And I was in sheer panic. I mean, I'm not going to lie. This is it. How can this be happening to us? So to have Yo come out and kind of put my mind at ease right away was...
Well, especially right after, the Carey Price injury.
Right.
And you get that sort of injury, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, this could be a big deal. Now, not to say that, that he's not the guy and we need him back, the $6 million man, but, I mean, Kemper's playing well. So, I mean,
well.
Obviously I think that should show the fans that that once we get everything ironed out next year, who knows what's going to happen with Kemper, and if he's playing well, maybe you can dish him off and get something in return. Use Backstrom as a backup in the short period of time. Maybe you get some sort of prospect for Kemper. Who knows what? Mm-hmm. But you do have a little bit of that stability.
Well, I think it's nice because we kind of always look at that 3 goalie thing as a negative situation.
For the most part,
because it is.
For the most part, it is.
But it is nice to kind of see the plus side of it. I mean, I wish Doobie wouldn't have said that the same day that he strained his groin. Yes, but he's right. It is a luxury that we have. Do we lose someone on our roster? Yes, but we do have the ability to kind of work around, especially if you have injuries in the goaltending.
I found out Parker is the name, and it doesn't state what the gender is.
I'm pretty sure it was a boy.
It just says Mom, Dad, and Big Brother are all doing well, or something. I mean, so it's. I'm assuming it's. I mean, but Parker could go either way. That's a name that's both.
I think it was a boy because I remember reading some jokes about it or something. So congrats to Dubnyk. I gotta say I'm kind of happy to have Baby Watch over with. It was kind of stressful. And I was stressing for him.
I love that you're stressful. It's like, I mean, just is that because you're a mom, or what's the deal?
Maybe it was both from being a mom and from being a hockey fan and being a wife. On Saturday, if still no baby, and this is pre-injury, right? So he's starting Saturday night. She is a day or two overdue. And it's if she doesn't have this baby Sunday, is he going to travel to Colorado? And then what happens? What if she goes into labor and he just misses it? What if it's very stressful? I was stressed out. Is he going to start? Is he not? I mean, I'm just happy it's all over with, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, now he can focus on getting his injury put back and getting that healthy and not. And I fully believe that they're going to rush him back. So they're going to take their time with it because. And that's what Kemper's given him. It's given him that stability to kind of be at ease, take the time to get healthy.
It is unfortunate that we have this tough back-to-back coming up.
If
it was a Friday, Sunday, Thursday, Saturday situation, I feel like we'd be in a lot better of a spot. But having a tough back-to-back is
all right.
tough.
So let's just take we'll put the sheer optimism hats on. We are in this position, but you showcase Backstrom because you have to, not because you want to. And he comes out and he plays well. I mean, that's obviously a great scenario and a best case scenario. I'm sure everybody is expecting him to come out and lay an egg because he's rusty.
Because he hasn't played in.
Even though everything
2
we
years.
read is how he's being the consummate professional and he's showing up and and going to practice and working hard with Bob Mason and everything that he's supposed to be doing, and not just becoming a distraction and whining and complaining about him not getting utilized and all the rest. I mean, obviously, he understands that his contract is the problem, and there's multiple things that have have domino affected the rest of the goalie situation, but he still is showing up and not becoming the distraction that he could be, that could cause issues considering his veteran presence, especially within this organization.
I mean, that being said, though, too, it's not that Kemper has been playing a ton. He's played a couple games this year. He didn't play the whole second half of last year, and look at the way he's come out and played. So,
no, very true.
Not
very
that
true.
I mean, you told me to put my optimism hat on, so maybe Backstrom still has it. I mean, at one point, he's our most winningest goalie. So
I believe still.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So maybe he's still got it. Who knows?
I don't know. Or maybe this is all for naught, and they realize that, hey, it's 2 games, and we can roll them back to back. I mean, if they don't see any issues and he plays well, or continues to play well like he has, I don't see why they wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Then you have a few days off, come back and play at home versus Vancouver. So then you have a few days off. Worst case scenario, he has to go again, or maybe Dubnyk is back by that point.
Yeah, I would assume that Kemper starts Friday night in the hopes that Doobie's back Saturday night, and then we'll see what happens, how Kemper plays. How about our not positive hats on? Kemper comes in Friday night, and he just shits the bed. He's horrible. He's given up 6 goals. It's halfway through the second period. Do you pull him and put in Backstrom?
This is Friday night?
This is Friday.
Friday night, Arizona. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what... It depends what you need to do to spark. If the team is playing well, then I don't know. If it's a combination of everything needing to be shaken up, then yes.
Well, obviously they're not playing well if he's given up 6 goals. I mean, that's not just on
But
him.
if it's just on him, like if the team for the most part is playing well, but everything he's given up is Pee-wee-esque type like softies, no. I mean,
Yeah.
I think then they are like, okay, we need to do something, or maybe they do something like they did to Patrick Waugh, once upon a time, and they just leave him sit there,
Yeah.
and let them just roll up one after another after another. That was up in Montreal that they did that. They just left him in the nets and just watched them just pile on the
Just
goals,
fall apart.
And that was, I believe, that he came out and said, "I'm never playing another game here," and shortly thereafter he was traded. And that was like kind of one of those iconic moments in the history of hockey that somebody like a Patrick Waugh has that happen to him and then gets traded. Now, obviously, coincidence that we're talking about Patrick Waugh and we just got done playing Colorado.
I thought he was kind of
subdued.
yes,
Little
like
bit.
quiet.
Little
What was
bit.
his deal? Especially in a home and home, you play 2 games. I expected to see more fire from him, especially even Monday night after they won. He's still just, I don't know.
See, I think who knows? Maybe he's been told, like, hey, you got to, and maybe Joe Sakic pulled him aside and said, hey, bring it down. Like, the antics are becoming distracting. We need to focus on our game because
We suck.
we're playing horrible and we're at the cellar dwellers at this point. So,
How about Duchesne, though? Wow. He's playing some great hockey.
Duchesne's playing some great hockey.
That
but
whole line is playing great
there's some
hockey.
there's some other players on that team that continue the
Yeah.
antics and the BS, and that's just who they are, and that's kind of how they're always going to try to be.
Mm-hmm.
Throwing the cross checks. One really kind of surprised, and it shouldn't surprise me because I think at his core he is kind of an asshat. Iginla. I mean, Iginla somehow, I never saw him play this way up in Calgary, but now he comes to Colorado, and he all of a sudden has this new bad boy approach where he's going to be cross-checking, and he attacked Koivu and tackled him down, and then he got in the corner and was jawing with him. Then he punches Zucker in the face 3 times. Somehow Zucker got a penalty for taking the punches in the face because he did
Right.
nothing really to instigate that. Mitchell got a penalty for coming around and attacking. I think it was Koivu's face. I mean, it was ridiculous. But
you said, though, that's what you expect from them. That's just how they play, unfortunately. Landeskog, too, he's another one.
yes,
I mean,
but Iginla did not play like that in Calgary. I mean, he
Well,
was a
now I
good
think-
player, but he is now playing with some different, just a different style where he tries. And I think he did play a little bit like that in Boston, but it's just definitely more highlighted and spotlighted here in Colorado.
I think that you're playing in a different environment where it is a little bit more chippy, and they suck. I mean, at the end of the day, they do it. And
Oh,
they're
believe me,
feeling the
nothing
heat,
made
and I
me
think
nothing made me more happy that when he went there, and there was rumors that we were kind of in the mix for him,
Right.
And then they have lost ever since, and it makes me very, very pleased to see that. because he could have come here. It would really be ironic because he, at that point, was like the number one wild killer as far as goals scored against our franchise. But yeah, that was more of the antics. But we stayed away from it, and we're able to put up the 3-0. And I don't think we engaged in it again at their ice. It just unfortunately wasn't our game, and we were the victim of a poor 3-on-3, a poor change.
Let's talk about that. The
poor personnel.
The 3-on-3 situation. I mean, obviously there was something happened with the line change there. Koivu and Suter just couldn't get off. They didn't get off the ice. They should have. They're tired. Then they give up that goal. Should they have made a change? Should they not have? I mean, we've been in a situation before where there's been a change in St. Louis in overtime, and then they make the change, and then they end up scoring on us because it's 2-on-3 because we're making a change. I mean, I just don't know. They just can't seem to get that right.
Here's the problem: they did it one time, and it worked well. We had a nice rush, and we really got something going. And I mentioned it in a previous show: is when you do the 3-on-3, the fact that we have defensemen that are offensively talented and skilled, Scandella, Dubnyk, Spurgeon,
who had a phenomenal game Saturday night.
He's had a streak of good games, and so those players. I think there's zero reason that you can't integrate two of them on the back, or even one kind of playing up a little bit, one playing. I mean, and then having a forward as well, because you do still have defensemen. I think I might have mentioned have one of those type defensemen, have a stay-at-home type, and then have a forward. But never should you have two forwards and like Suter, because he is slower than
and he's
than
really
the rest.
Struggling on the 3-on-3.
Yep, and it's and in the speed game that they play. While you're not just constantly rolling the speedy players, like while you're not rolling a rotation of, Parise and Nino and Zucker,
Zucker for sure.
I mean, and the players that have the wheels, because that's Colorado's game. I mean, they're going to come at you with the speed and try to work, a little tic-tac-toe action. Obviously, really. Didn't work to our advantage with the bad change, and he couldn't save it. He did save another one previously that was nice, I believe, on Duchesne.
Right.
And
Parise almost won the game like 4 seconds before that, and that was what kind of it clogged things up, and when he didn't score, what kind of caused the confusion or inability to get off the ice. And they were tired, and I get that, but just we're learning about 3-on-3 it's old to me.
We should be learning faster.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's old to
I
me.
think that if they're not doing a large amount of 3-on-3 practices, which
and they
I'm
seem
sure
like they are,
I'm sure they are, but roll different personnel. I mean, and there's all kinds of stuff on Twitter. I know that Derek Felska put it out there about at what point is it going to be admitted that Suter has ownership over Yo's decisions? I mean, it was something to that effect of it was one game and one thing where they changed up the defenseman. He complained, and then
I think
and then they switched it right back. So
new defensive pairings lasted a single game. Does Suter own Yo?
I mean, it's kind of one of the things, and I don't know if that's necessarily true. Obviously, there was issues with the media pumped it up and about Suter coming out and complaining
much more than what it was. I think,
and I don't think you could. But on the other point of that, you can't baby him. He is. I mean, if you want to treat it like a business and like a work environment, he's an employee. He needs to listen to his boss. I mean, his boss says this, that's what he does, and be a good soldier and don't start jawing. I mean, if it doesn't work, things are going to change.
I agree,
but you're not a coach. You don't dictate what line you're on.
I agree, but they had been playing phenomenally together, so I do see a frustration of suddenly it's switched up and the lefty-righty thing. I mean, I think it was blown out of proportion as well. I think coming from a guy like Suter, for him to come out and say something, he doesn't usually, so when he does, it got super blown up, and I don't know. I don't fault him too much for being upset.
No, and I
agree.
I agree on the right-left thing, and I also don't disagree that I like him playing with Spurgeon. I mean, I definitely do. I firmly believe, as I've gone out there, and I know, Derek, you're going to destroy me on Twitter like you did last week about defending Spurgeon, but he's a top 2 defenseman. I don't care what team you put him on this league, size or not, he's a top 2 defenseman. So, I mean, he deserves to be there. The rest of the pairings, I don't know exactly what the right mix is. Obviously, you have Prosser in the mix. You bring up Riley. You don't play him, and you kind of. I mean, it's kind of like a little bit of a smoke and mirrors tease. But I mean, who knows what's going to happen with it? I don't think Prosser has been necessarily that good. People have defended him here and there,
but you can't stand him. So
I
it's
can't.
A different.
But from an objective perspective,
but you're not being objective.
I have watched, and his play has not been good. Now,
I don't think you can say it's not been good.
I can also admit that at one point, Dubnyk's play was not good for a streak. I don't think Brodin has done anything this year that's been exciting or outstanding. I think he is extremely vanilla.
It's kind of unfortunate because, and it's kind of infamous, the first show of the season that I was so pumped up about the Brodin-Dumba pairing, and so was everybody. It was really pumped into the media for us to read a lot about. But, Dumba obviously struggled, and it's really nice to see him turn around in the last few games, get a couple of goals. But yeah, Brodin, it just seems that maybe it's going to be kind of that same situation where Palmer was struggling so much that you kind of didn't see Granlund as much. And now is Brodin going to come into the limelight with maybe his issues as well?
What happens, though? I mean, what happens with him? What do you do with a guy that you've signed for 6 years?
You hope he turns around.
I mean, yeah, but can you put him on the bottom two pairing? I mean, that's what Tony always was preaching about, is put him on the bottom two pairings, but absolutely not. They would never do that because he's like the franchise defenseman that they drafted and blah, 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 blah. Like, I understand Suter's the franchise defenseman, but Brodin was touted as this, oh my God, he's going to be fantastic. And of course he was when he came in his first year. I mean, top pairings his rookie year with Suter. But I don't believe he's earned the right to play anything but third line pairings. And I don't know if that's going to take him changing his game to earn to go up that depth chart. But at this point, I'm not seeing anything that would make me believe that he deserves anything more than the third line pairing.
I don't know if I would say that. I'm not as down on him as you are, I guess. I think we have had a lot of issues defensively, with the exception of Suter and Spurgeon, and they've had their. It's like they're on most of the time, but when they're off, they have a horrible game, the both of them. But just trying to find the right click for everybody. I just think that everybody's kind of been off a little bit and not as great as we had expected coming into this year. I mean, all in all, our defense has not been nearly as good as it was last year or in previous seasons. That's kind of been our game, and so to see them this year having some issues, which hopefully, like I said, with Dumba turning around, hopefully we're kind of finding our way everywhere, and hopefully Brodin will as well.
I mean, so looking at this, obviously, it's the numbers don't support, I guess, my beef against him. So I will defer to, to the numbers. Through 25 games played, 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points. He's a +3 with 12 penalty minutes. But I don't know. I mean, with 21 shots, I'm not. But the same thing.
I think maybe you just don't see him as much. I kind of feel the same way about Charlie Coyle. Like, I feel like I did see him Saturday. I thought he had a great game on Saturday. But I just feel like maybe he's not doing great things. He's not doing bad things. He's just he's there.
No, and I think for a defenseman, if you don't notice them, sometimes that is indicative of them playing a good game because they're also not doing anything glaring. That's always what they say about Suter, because you don't see him and he's not flashy and he's just very steady. But I think from what Brodin has shown us in the past, he has the ability to be, more than he is now.
So maybe you just think he's not playing to his potential. And that's how I feel about Charlie, too. I definitely don't think he's playing to his potential right now.
I mean, I would agree with that. Charlie's, he's a little bit of a lost soul. I mean, they bounce him around a little bit. He kind of comes and goes, which is unfortunate. He's streaky. Now, his don't last typically as long because he'll score something here and there. But yeah, it's... Coyle definitely is more of becoming more and more to the level of getting scrutinized that other players have now before. I mean, there's still players ahead of him, Granlund, that are going to take more, more flack. And you want to talk about, like, is it a pecking order of who gets to be in the shadows? So obviously Pominville was spotlighted with being, just heinously bad. So all of a sudden he scores a few. He
had that nice empty netter to add.
An empty netter, and all of a sudden, okay, so now we give him a little bit of a pass. Now who's next? Who next is going to step up into the shame light?
The shame light, I like that.
It's like, okay, so now Granlund doesn't shoot, doesn't do this, doesn't do that. Granlund peels off a few goals or some pretty assists or something else. Okay, move him aside. Who's next on the it is like the shame list of okay, who isn't stepping up to their potential now? Eventually is it going to be somebody on the fourth line? I mean, obviously, I think they play just phenomenal hockey. I mean, very tough. They cycle the puck very well with guys that aren't known for being great offensive talents.
Well, and if you can have your fourth line spending that much time in the offensive zone,
absolutely.
that's just phenomenal.
Absolutely. And you have people that can do it and that can play defensively minded, like you have Haula, I think, who's settled into knowing that kind of a role. Obviously, from his talent, you'd like to see him do more. But they're also scoring some shorthanded goals. They're scoring some other dirty goals, but they can play the possession game and keep the puck in that zone with a fourth-line crew. So that's very nice, especially sometimes who they're playing against.
Yeah, I think that if you can get that kind of production, and like I said, being in the offensive zone that much, you can't really ask for a lot more from them right now.
What do you think of Porter? I mean, Porter, just to put it in perspective, Porter has 1 goal, 2 assists through 26 games. Very few, only 4 penalty minutes. He's even 16 shots. I mean, so numbers-wise, very similar to production of what Brodin does, but plays far less minutes. Different role, of course. But what do you think of Porter so far this year, comparison to if we would have kept like a Chris Stewart?
Well, I think that obviously you need that physical presence. So we have that with him. Maybe the same type of thing. You're not really seeing him a whole lot. Granted, his minutes are down a lot, but when he's on the ice, I feel like I'm not really wowed or seeing a ton from him.
I'll disagree, because when he is on there, he's out there, on the fourth line, in playing with, with Haula, with Carter, and they're playing just a very solid game. And it isn't a wow game, but it is.
Maybe it's just more of like a smooth game.
I think so, and I think that I hope that fans would agree that has solidified a little bit of the back end. And allowing some of those other lines to kind of do what they do. But obviously, if we had Stewart, you wouldn't be playing the fourth line. But I'm not disappointed, because if he wasn't here, I don't know who we'd put there to kind of fill that, not a plumber role, but more of like the not offensive talent that some of other players would be more beneficial playing higher lines and other things. But so I'm not disappointed. I don't know what's going to happen, with any of them after this year. But I think he was a nice pickup. He's a buddy of Parise's. But I've been happy with him for the price point that we got him at.
Absolutely, he was cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, him and his wife they already lived here, didn't they? So they wanted to come back.
And we got him on waivers. I mean, so it was basically we got him for a pretty good deal on a 1 year and. So we'll see what happens here after the year and some money getting freed up and some other things moving around. But more to come on that. We also have some guys knocking at the door. We talked before the show about Grajevac getting healthy. So he's obviously
yes, he's fully practiced today. They still don't know his exact return. So obviously he's going to have to go to Iowa for a few.
Indeed.
How many games do you think he plays down there?
Depends on their schedule. I mean, I would say they'd like to get at least a nice sample set to find out where his game is at. Minimum like 3, I'd say, depending on how he does. 3, 4, if they need him, they'll bring him up. And that also depends on how we do in the next few games. I mean, if you need to upset the apple cart and bring in somebody to kind of mix things up, like they've tried to do with Ballmer and with Gabriel and other people that get some things going. The goal is to not do that, because you wouldn't need to bring the Iowa guys up because everybody's playing well, and allow them to have top minutes instead of having smaller rolled minutes. But yes, we'll see. I'd say minimum 3 games.
What do you think about Riley? Are we going to see him?
I think it was ridiculous what we did, and we had like musical chairs of defensemen that were coming and going, and they drop one down, they bring one back up, they let him practice. He wasn't even out there for like the pre-skate.
No,
one time.
He was up in the press box the whole time. I honestly think with Riley, it was his numbers in Iowa were horrible because he plays for a horrible team and he's playing a lot of minutes, and I think that was getting to him, and it was they kept saying this isn't a pity call-up. I don't think it was a pity call-up. I think that they were just trying to get his head in the right place again. I don't think they ever intended on playing him.
If you're going to do that, though, give him a taste of like, okay, here's a warm up. It's not just
I
a
know.
practice.
I
Like,
thought it
here's-
was weird,
Here's
too.
an NHL game.
I wanted to see him too. I actually wanted to see him against Toronto because while they have been playing a little bit better, I thought that was a good game to throw him into. But
Yeah, with the way that they've been playing, obviously, I think the expectation was we were going to open that up a little bit and score quite a few more
I
goals.
did not expect that to be a 1-0 game.
And it would have been a different game had the goaltender not played as well as he did.
Right.
So I mean that was a thing.
Well, I kind of thought that they've kind of been doing that this year. I mean, I think I follow them probably a little bit more than you do, but where they'll go in because they
100%.
they got beat like 6-0 on Wednesday night. So and they've been kind of doing that where they get beat pretty bad and then they come back and they react pretty well the next game.
You have
And
to
they have been
you have to have a
stepping it
reaction
up,
game for sure. A reaction game, absolutely. And I'd say that was the worry for me in that game.
Yeah,
As I
me
said,
as well.
okay, they just got shellacked. Mm-hmm. And the Wild know they're not very good. So are they going to kind of?
They're getting a little bit better.
I'm just saying, if you sit back, it's a mentality thing. Are you going to sit back like, we can kind of half-ass this one
And
and
that's
win?
kind of why I thought we would see Riley, to be honest. But then I think maybe when Toronto did get beat so bad Wednesday night, they kind of went, okay, well, maybe we'll just...
And I hope that if I know something like that, then everybody in the coaching staff would be like the same thing.
Right.
But it's amazing that everybody knows it, yet it always still happens. Like, like, okay, we just had a big win, or we just had a big loss. I mean, and what is going to be the reaction game or the bounce-back game?
Well, and Thursday night was... because we played Chicago so well and had such a great game. And then coming into Thursday night, it was kind of interesting to see a more subdued team where I expected a little bit more fire.
And you always, are hoping that they come out hotter right away. And sometimes that was our problem for a while, is that we didn't. It took us a while, and then we were playing catch-up, and that's always a tough game to play when the opposition can play a tighter zone trap kind of a game, a la Jacques Lemaire. I'm sure he loves it when he sees teams do that, because he was like the godfather of that brainchild. But it gives you a huge disadvantage. Now, to the same point, if you get ahead by, how many goals and you kind of fall into that defensive mode, that can also leave you susceptible to a team getting momentum and coming back and beating you, which we've seen that as well opening night against Colorado.
Well, and that was a great game. It's funny that you bring that up because it has been a really interesting 3 games against Colorado this year because all 3 have been so different. It's like different teams playing in each game, which you never know what you're going to expect in a Wild Avalanche game, but I don't think Thursday night that the Leafs were ever completely out of it. Dubnyk played a phenomenal game.
Absolutely.
And
No, I agree. I was very worried that they were going to at some point tie it up, and then they definitely had the momentum. So I was when they started firing, I was getting a little bit concerned.
Yeah, the last couple of minutes was a little stressful, but I was very proud to see Dumba. That look on his face, like when he's playing well, he's so fun to watch. Like he just looks like he's having so much fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely jacked up. He's, that's the kind of player that you want to infuse that excitement and that raw emotion out there when you score. And other teams see that. They see like, this guy's clicking, and we get a better watch for him. They'll probably watch, film on somebody like Dubnyk, like, okay, keep an eye on this both in like 5-on-5 play and in the power play, because this kid's feeling it right now. So if he gets a hold of the puck, whether on a one-time or a pass, watch out, because he's in the proverbial zone.
Well, and I think going into these last 3 or 4 games, we had some guys that really needed goals, and Palmer obviously being one of them, and coming out 3 of 4 goals, or 3 out of 4 games with goals. Granted, one was an empty netter. I don't really count that, but still. And then
it was dead center in the net. So if that's worth
that's
anything,
true. Fair enough.
Give him
Fair
that.
enough. And then you had Dumba, who really needed a couple of good games. He's been playing so tough. So to come in and have two goals in back-to-back games is phenomenal for him. And then Parise. We saw Parise with his goal on Monday night, so that was really great to see him.
He got back in action on it, and obviously you saw that in his face. You want to talk about raw emotion when somebody scores. Just absolutely jacked up that he scored and brought the tie, and you heard the guys on TV talk about it, and it was like you saw that, and he needed that, and hopefully that will breed further goals and successes for not only himself but that line going forward. But it's you do feed off of that kind of thing, and obviously more so from a Parisi than a Dumba, but you still need to have those kind of personal wins on the team. So
I just have to say, we're sitting here in Bennett's, and it smells so good. Like, I don't know who's eating what around me, but something smells amazing.
You get like the infusion of whatever they bring out that kind of walks by us, and
yes.
And it's like the variety of whether it's like a pasta dish, a steak, a burger.
It smells like something grilled.
Like some app. Is it like maybe like a salmon or something else,
or
is it a steak?
I think it's a steak. Something smells really good. And it's looking really Christmassy in here. They've got all their lights up and their Christmas decorations, and I'm just feeling like really in the holiday spirit. Like I want like a nice glass of red wine and a steak right now.
So I saw the Sox the other night. I was here on Thursday and took the shuttle with my buddy Matt, and it was funny. Like Joe went to the game. Joe wasn't driving the bus, so they had another gentleman driving the bus, and my buddy Matt goes, "You think I can ask the guy if I can drive the bus?" And I go, "I think that's the bus driver over there." And he looked like he could have been in some sort of like a biker gang. Like
nice.
he was all business. And
nice.
I'm like, "Matt, I think that's the bus driver." And he's like, "Ooh, maybe I shouldn't ask that." So of course after the game he asks Joe. He's like, "Joe, I drive the bus." Joe's like, "Shut up, Matt." So it's obviously.
So Joe rode the bus.
Joe rode the bus to and from. Yep. But no, the deck. I guess back to my point. I digress. But the decorations in there, they all got like stockings like hung up with their names on them, and there's like Christmas lights hung up all over the place.
This is probably the most festive I've felt so far. Is sitting right here right now.
Very festive.
Yeah, I feel good, and I'm just like really excited about dinner. Whatever that is that I smell. I'm just going to ask Andy. Andy, what is that I smell? Can I change my order to that?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, obviously I think they said tonight the special was like some sort of a flank steak. Traditionally, the sirloin is kind of the way that we go and kind of defer to. But
yes, there was like a flank steak or a skirt steak that was on feature tonight. And then with the games, there's always the sirloin smothered in the mushrooms and the onions and potato and veggie for like $19 or something ridiculously great.
Yep, splash in a couple drinks. We switched it up. We were drinking brown liquor drinks before the game, so we mixed it up from the beer to that. So.
Well, it was a Saturday night game, so it's a little different, you know.
Yep.
You can get a little bit more fiery then. Or no, it was Thursday night.
Thursday.
Whoa.
You
went Saturday night though too, right?
Once in a while, you got to set sail. Absolutely. Yep. One Saturday night as well.
Fun.
Yep. So it was good, and we'll sure be back here again for that Vancouver game. Ride the shuttle down.
Is that Monday or Tuesday?
Tuesday. So convenient because it's not living here anymore. Mm-hmm. Just riding the shuttle down, and it's something that parking is a pain.
It is such a pain, and it's expensive.
I've gone to the game.
Wouldn't you rather come here and spend your money on a couple beers or a couple drinks
than
$0
on parking?
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
Spend $15 or whatever dollars. And the funny thing about like just the speed in which you can, like, if you decide you're not going to come in and have a couple drinks before you go home, you can get out if you're so fast, as opposed to being on like in one of the ramps.
Totally.
I mean, you're sitting there in traffic, whether it's coming out of the River Center ramps and then sitting on Shepherd or on 35. I mean, it's messy. You get down here.
By
and
the
it's
time you pay
sailing.
$15 or $20 for parking, that's your sirloin covered in mushrooms and onions and delicious steak butter.
And you have much more personal sanity. Because when I have zero patience for people that are getting out of those ramps, it just makes me crazy.
Yeah, well, and this way you can just you avoid all of the traffic. You're on this side, get in, get out. You definitely need to come down and check out the Christmas decorations for sure.
It makes you feel festive.
I do. I feel so festive.
She's going to start singing carols soon.
I know. I want a holiday cocktail.
So, what do you? Not that I don't want to talk about cocktails, but what do you think about the upcoming games? We talked about the goalie situation, but how those the teams have been playing. How do you feel us going into Arizona and San Jose? And it's funny because it's like the Arizona, Minnesota clash. Starting tomorrow night with the Vikings, and then the Wolves are down there, and then the Wild.
I'm actually really jealous
really
because the owner of our company, his son goes to ASU, so they're going down. I think that they leave tonight, and then they're going to. Well, he's obviously there, but he's going to see his son tonight, and then they're going to the Vikings game tomorrow night, the Timberwolves game, or the Vikings game tomorrow night, the Wild game Friday night, and then is it Saturday or Sunday? The Timberwolves are there, so they're going to that too. So I mean, what a fun stretch! What a fun weekend!
Absolutely, I exchanged some some messages back and forth with Chad Graff. We're going to get him back on the show hopefully next week. He's going to confirm with me, but we were trying to get him on this week, and he said, "I'm actually going." He's like, "I'm going down early to help with the Vikings game, and then gonna stick it out." And he's like, "I know, boo-hoo me. I have to go to Arizona and spend a few days down there." And but he did say that I think Wednesday next week would work for him to get back in. He really wants to get back in and kind of. Chat hockey with us. So he said he had a lot of fun last time.
Awesome. I think Tony's going to be back next week too. So it'll be a fun week of shenanigans. I'll have to keep all you boys in line.
That's right. She's like our den mother.
Somebody has to do it. Trust me, the show would be unlistenable if it wasn't for me.
Wow. It's aggressive.
You should spend more time with Scott. Bad. Anybody.
Speaking of aggressive, I'm going through the tweets here and.
Velska.
I was going to go with Rock Scott Vam, replied to one of Velska's tweets, and it's at RCKVM, and he said, "You think Suter must have nudes of Yo's wife?" Very aggressive. I don't think that's the case. However, we have seen in other NHL locker rooms some of that shenanigans. So I thought
you were going to say we have seen nudes of Yo's wife.
No. Unless you have.
No, I haven't. I was shocked for a second.
I don't know what Yo's wife looks like. So
I have no idea, but now I feel like I need to.
Wow, that's. Okay.
I mean, not nudie.
By the way, for those of you at home, did
you
just catch her talking about how she keeps us in line, and I called her the den mother, and then she breaks out that she wants to see nudes of Yo's wife?
Well, just
that's right.
From
you heard it here.
That was just from I'm nosy,
By the way, at RCKVM, if he does need nudes,
send them this way.
Sarah has them, and she can get them to Suter right away.
Yeah, I want to see them.
What other? We have some other kind of tweet comments, questions. I think. We do have some retirements.
Yes,
former and recently members of the Minnesota Wild retiring. Obviously, Pascal Dupuis, which flew under the radar when he left here. Didn't get a lot of comments about him not wanting to sign. I know so much was put on Gabrick when he kind of burned us and so on. But, with the blood clots, Pascal Dupuis decides to hang it up. Great career. He got to hoist the cup. So best of luck to him.
I think that one was really sad. I was honestly sad about that. I think that he was just a true hockey player through and through. He loved the game. He was such a respectful guy, and that just it's sad when you see somebody like that who's such a great what am I trying to say, example for the game, with somebody that you can be proud of no matter what team he's on. You can be proud as a hockey fan. That guy is what hockey is about. And so to have somebody like that be forced out of the game, that sucks.
And then a hometown guy. Keith Ballard, former Gopher, came back here, after he was bought out in Vancouver, coming back in and playing, just a good role with us. I mean, he was just a great guy. Obviously, we did have him on Wild Wednesday last season, and just was a good overall guy and a good locker room guy to the younger players, and just kind of showed him what it was to be a kind of a consummate professional. So Velska did ask, what's my favorite?
I know, I just saw that.
Besides the hip check, and it's not a good. It's kind of a funny memory, but I think it was when he. I think it was in Florida when he turned and swung his stick after a goal and knocked out his goaltender.
Oh, that's not a positive one.
I know, it's not positive, but
it
was my favorite memory. And if that's my favorite memory, he was angry and he turned around and swung baseball style his stick and knocked his goalie out.
I feel like I'm caught off guard. I don't know if I can think of one, but I'm going to try to think of one. Felska, I'm going to think of one for next week that isn't him knocking out his own goalie.
I mean, it's classic. The other thing I've been reading, and it's the most ridiculous thing, and it has a Minnesota Wild connection, is the All-Star voting and John Scott leading it. It's the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever seen, and it truly makes the All-Star game even more of just an absolute sideshow.
Yeah.
Because it already is. I mean, before when they did all the preview minutes, they're trying to make it fun and all that stuff, and they have the skills competition, which I like that. But now they're making like the 3-on-3 like a tournament style. Stupid.
Yeah, I think that's dumb too.
Way to go, Gary Bettman, for coming up with another stupid idea.
I think it's dumb too. I mean, honestly, don't you feel like all All-Star games in all professional sports are stupid? I feel like none of them.
But you can make them like fun, because obviously they are top-notch players and the best in the leagues, and they're coming out there to do different things. I didn't go to the All-Star game at Target Field, but I went out to like the celebrity softball game, and I thought it was a lot of fun.
Run derby.
I mean, like that kind of stuff is fun. The skills competition, I think, is fun. They're out there goofing around, doing funny like things. They're making it entertaining for the fans that are there. But you get into something like this, and the reason they're doing it is just try to further promote this, the 3-on-3. But
I think that they're getting a lot of negative
as they should
feedback from that, and so they're trying to do everything that they can.
And they rig everything else. I mean, this is total speculation and conspiracy theory on what's going on with this. But can't they find a way just to put an end to this John Scott thing? I mean, there's no reason the man should go to the All-Star game.
Yeah, that's a frustrating situation, and you're right. It just makes it more of a joke.
It's a mockery. It makes a mockery of a sport, and like I said, they can rig other things. I mean, let's be honest. It's God, you got me saying it. I hate that line. I hate it. I'm sorry.
I don't even think I've said that once.
Oh, you said it like 4 times already.
I have not.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to listen. I never listen to our shows, which I shouldn't say, but I just can't. I don't like to listen to myself. But I'm going to have to listen to it now to hear.
Go ahead.
Speaking of the 3-on-3, you're saying that they should definitely be getting a lot of negative feedback. But in the beginning of the season, you were excited about 3-on-3.
I said it would open it up, but I think that it's just not. I think it's not the way it's been intended. Now, has it reduced the shootouts? Yes.
Well, we're one of the only 2 teams in the whole league that hasn't had a game taken to a shootout.
But that's the point. Is we're that bad at it. But
so do you think that maybe it's easier for us to be frustrated with it because obviously we're having an issue?
No, I don't know. I think it's has it opened up the game?
As soon as it's going to overtime with us. I mean, obviously Monday night was a situation where there's 6 minutes left, or 7 minutes left.
Stand up and leave.
And Parisi gets a goal, so it's exciting, like sweet overtime, because at least we're going to get a point. But that's what I'm thinking is we're going to get a point. We're not going to get 2.
Afterwards, I was like, I could have had a few more minutes of sleep had I just said, okay, I know where this is going.
Right.
This is over.
The whole game was so boring.
Maybe I'll wake up tomorrow and be surprised, and then I'll have to watch some highlights or something. But
with the exception of that Parisi goal, the entire game was just in the neutral zone, and it was just boring.
And now, I mean, a funny thing is that the skills competition or the shootout is what that is. But now at a home game, going into the shootout is kind of exciting because you get to see that,
right.
and especially live, and it's good for I think that is good for the fans. The point system is still screwed up, so until they can kind of get that right and maybe follow the college style when it's a 3-point game, that's it. It's all the points that are being given. 3 for a win, and so on. And you're not gonna invent more points or get the cheap point or whatever else beyond that. Which you see that. I think somebody put something out like what the records would be or what the points would be if you just ended things in a tie, and the Wild would be far better off. I mean, better off.
I would hate that, and you would hate that too. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I would hate ending in a tie.
Yeah, I know it's not, but I'm saying just for the fact of how the points and things work, it's just that's it. I mean, it's you're getting fake inflated points to ensure parity for a longer period of time.
Okay, so this is totally off the subject.
It's forced parity.
But I wanted to talk about this. Did you see this teddy bear toss? Apparently they do it every year in Calgary.
It's a big thing. Big thing.
Okay, so I've never heard of this before.
How do you not? That's like a Canadian thing.
I know. I don't know.
Raises like a ton of money.
I know. Well, did you watch the video?
No, but I've seen it in the past.
I don't know. Maybe I have. I feel like sometimes I like
a ton of money. Like the entire ice is
covered.
Deep. Like probably a good foot deep.
They had to take
more.
An hour break. Could you imagine being okay? So for anybody who hasn't heard of the teddy bear toss,
Google it.
Yes, it's in Calgary, and it's the first goal of the game by the home team. Everybody throws a teddy bear and money and whatever else onto the ice. Could you imagine?
I don't think they should throw money. I mean, what do you call them?
Well, I think
toonies
it was
and loonies.
Yeah,
and
no, definitely
else.
don't throw Canadian coins. That would hurt. But you see, first of all, could you imagine sitting in the first 5 rows? Your arms would be so tired from picking up the teddy bears that didn't go far enough and getting them onto the ice. But you have to watch this video. Like, it made my day. I saw it a couple days ago, and I just
Some
thought it
minor
was
league
so
teams
cool.
do things similar than that. I mean, a number of teams do like the chuck a puck, and you buy a puck, and it all goes to some charity, and you throw it, and whoever gets like closest to the middle gets some sort of a cash prize or something. But yeah, I mean, I have no problem with that. I think that's kind of like a fun thing.
I just thought it was super cool, and like it's a minor league team, so it's not like, because somebody was saying to me, well, they had to take a 45-minute break or whatever. I mean, who gives a shit? It's Christmas and teddy bears.
Those of you out there, have you been to a minor league hockey?
Yeah.
It's like going to the Saints. I mean, nobody cares. Like
Although people really care about the Saints now.
It's like the antics that break out at a baseball game.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
exactly.
not. I mean, a baseball game breaks out of the antics. It's nothing. You don't take it too seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you go
Unless
there for
your friend or buddy or brother or something.
You
plays.
go there for the fun. You go there for some sort of a thing that they do in between periods or just as entertainment. But you don't go because you're a serious diehard fan.
I just thought it was really cool. It like got me in the Christmas spirit and like made my heart
Look
warm.
at that. Look at she's all
I
in on the
know.
Christmas. They have Christmas in Canada.
Yes, thank you very
Okay,
much.
just-
We also have Boxing Day, which you guys are really missing
Yeah, we've
out
connected
on.
on that one. It's New Year's, right?
No, it's the day after Christmas.
Oh.
We also
call
have
that
New Year's.
we call that we're going to box the Pittsburgh Penguins that day. That's the day after Christmas, and we might not. We'll see. So I've tried. It's totally like ADD. I've tried to talk about like the upcoming games like 3 times, and
so
we
the
get
next
totally
3 games.
sidetracked.
So we've got at Phoenix on Friday, at San Jose Saturday, and then at home against Vancouver on Tuesday, right?
Yes.
So my prediction is, I'm predicting Kemper starts Friday night, we win. If Doobie starts Saturday night, we win. If Kemper starts, we lose. Not because I don't think he's playing well, but I just don't know if he can do 2 back-to-backs like that or do a back-to-back that tough. And then I say we win with Vancouver at home on Tuesday.
So, funny thing is that Vancouver has won 1. Arizona has lost 5.
Oh, wow. I thought they were playing better than
San
that.
Jose has lost 4. in a row.
Wow.
So we're talking about a couple teams that are the back-to-backs that have not been playing well. So it could be one of those things like we've talked about is the do they need to have the some sort of positive or bounce back game. But yeah, and just looking at their home records, San Jose 4-8 at home. They're road warriors at 10-5. I mean 4-8 at home.
That's
and
tough.
And Arizona is 6-4 at home. Vancouver, on the road they're 6-5-5. But yeah, I mean San Jose 4-8 at home.
That's
They
tough.
have all kinds.
I thought they were playing
have all
better than
kinds
that.
of mess there. I mean it's messy. I mean I'm surprised that Burns hasn't tried to get the hell out of here and come back.
I really thought it was better than that.
You were, by the way, you and Kendall were spot on as far as your 5 points.
I know.
I am very
You said
disappointed.
6,
I said
right?
6, and
Well, come on, let's
very
be real.
disappointed that I did not get to.
And you I remember, didn't I want to say 6, but you talked me out of it, and then you took 6?
No, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But you and Kendall were kind of on that
Yeah.
5 vibe, and I'm like, well, we have to have
Thanks, Aaron.
We have to have a little bit of a
This
difference
is why
here.
I have to have Aaron here.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, so what are you predicting then?
It's tough. I mean, with those two teams, we seem to play good against Arizona, so I'll take the 2 there. And San Jose is a tough one. San Jose is kind of one that, not to the level of like Anaheim, and but we sometimes struggle in San Jose. But I think we could change that. I'm gonna go a win there. So I'm gonna go back-to-back wins.
Okay, in regulation?
In regulation, and then as much as it pains me, we always seem to have like a battle against the Vancouver Canucks. But coming back home, I'm going to say that goes overtime, but we lose.
Okay, so you're going 5 points?
I'll go 5 points.
I was going to go 5 points too. I think I'm going to be kind of...
Debbie Downer?
Yeah, I'm going to
Okay.
go 4 points.
Okay. Who do we lose to?
I guess it depends who starts Saturday night. And so I'm going to say if Doobie starts Saturday night, we win.
You're putting like an asterisk on this. Like if this,
It
then
is an
that.
asterisk, though. That is an asterisk.
Okay.
I'm going 4 points total.
Okay. I'm gonna.
We might drop Vancouver. at
I'm
home.
going to stick with 5, and I mean I would like to see it. I mean I'd like to see what I'd really like to see is us play Vancouver and somebody kick the tar out of a couple of them. That'd be kind
Tell
of fun
me
to
this: does Granlund get a goal in the next 3 games?
watch. I mean just like San Jose, I'm just looking at goals for, goals against. I mean, goals against, San Jose is giving up 72. Arizona's giving up 89. So I mean, they're giving up more goals. Sure, I'll say he gets one. Now, is it maybe some sort of a cheapie? Maybe, but he has to
just get one for Christ's sakes.
Yeah,
we don't care how you get it.
Just somehow. I mean, and that'd probably be a gift somehow. But yeah, I'm guessing he does.
Okay, I like it. Okay, so we're going 4 to 5 points and a Granlund goal. That's our hopes and prayers.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
I love it.
All right, so we will be back next week, hopefully with Chad Graff,
and definitely with Tony,
and hopefully with Tony, and hopefully with Dubnyk playing again. Not here, because he'll be somewhere probably doing something else with his new kid. Hopefully that kid's
he'll be not sleeping somewhere.
No. Hopefully that kid is somewhere else, like in a different spot, so he can sleep. Yeah. He needs a quiet room. So if he does not have one of his teammates should let him sleep over. You know, the guy can get a nanny or something. I mean, come on.
He's got a nanny.
Well, good. Then don't disrupt the sleep.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to next week with Tony and hopefully Chad Graff and hopefully 5 points. We'll see you then.
Yeah, get down on it. That's right.